All right, welcome to Behind Sports. My name is Gregory Scott Reinen, and today we have a guest from DugoutLegends.com, Eric Davis, one of the owners of the website. Hello, Eric. Thanks for joining us.
Well, hello, Scott. It's a pleasure, believe me.
Great. I'd love to hear a little bit about you, if you could give us some background on how you got into the industry and started Dugout Legends.
Sure. Actually, the founder of Dugout Legends happens to be my son, who has always had great interest in things like this, and baseball has always been a huge part of his life. As he went through his years of Little League to high school and didn't really play much after that and kind of got away from the game, has always had a great love for the game and the history of the game. So he kind of recruited me to come in and help him with some of the business side of the business.
Great.
But he's the creative force, absolutely. So our goal is to become a networking social media site through Facebook, Twitter, and certainly our website.
Terrific. And focusing on the history of baseball, is that kind of the overall thought process behind the site?
Absolutely. You know, the history is something that we feel the younger generation may have lost a little bit.
Okay.
So when I get talking with folks that are probably, our demographic is kind of across the spectrum, but our heaviest demographic is really 18 to 24 years old.
Okay.
We find a lot of the folks, men and women, that enjoy the site and enjoy our Facebook don't really understand some of the history and really appreciate the stuff that we post and talk about all the time.
So there's an education process there almost. I mean, I think a lot of and I don't know how many conversations are happening anymore between parents and kids and the next generation of children coming up with all the social media and just the absolute influx of information. There's just so much for everybody to process now. Having a website like this seems like it's a really nice thing because it's focused.
I agree, and we really encourage folks, especially folks that have young children. We're doing everything electronically today, it seems like, but at the end of the day, we should let go of our electronic leashes and get outside, play some catch,
You're right.
Teach the kids how to bat a little bit, and really introduce them to one of the greatest pastimes that we've ever known.
I agree. It's my favorite sport. I hold it's a very close place to my heart. I actually coach Little League currently as well.
Excellent.
So it's just seeing these kids out there playing baseball and the one thing I have noticed this year is all the kids, whether they're playing or if they're part of the league, but if they're not playing in a game, they usually are at the ball field. I mean, you see all the other teams at the ball field, and that's refreshing to see. They're not playing video games all the time.
Well, I'm in the generation that we grew up playing Sandlot ball,
Sure.
and you're allowed at 8 years old or so to throw your mitt on your handlebars, drive up to the school and play ball for hours on end.
Yep.
And your parents just told you had to be home by supper time when the street lights came on.
Right.
That's changed a lot.
Yeah.
So we really encourage folks to get out there, get their kids involved in Little League, get them involved in the history of the game so they understand the game.
Sure.
And that's part of the reason that we have, you mentioned earlier when we were talking, on our website, we have a kids dugout section. There's activity on there for kids so they can do some coloring, they can learn the game, the rules of the game. And we're getting a lot of positive feedback on that lately.
That's great. That's great. At least there's still a classic movie out there, The Sandlot, so that people can go back and see, the way it was and how much fun those kids had too.
I would recommend that every young person sees that, including young parents.
Yeah, I actually think they just did a reunion of all the kids that were on that movie to see them grown up. It's funny how many of them still look exactly the same.
That is something. I haven't seen that, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Nice.
Good deal. So there's a number of other things you guys are doing with your website. I know one of them, you guys are helping some charities doing fundraisers.
Yes, we just finished a fundraiser for High Sox for Hope. That's David Robertson, the relief pitcher from the Yankees, who started his organization. He was originally from Alabama, and we know that 3 or 4 years ago, Alabama got hit very hard by some tornadoes.
Sure.
So to help people rebuild their lives, he started this foundation. Last year when Hurricane Sandy plummeted the East Coast, he extended that program to help the victims of Hurricane Sandy. So we just completed a fundraiser, and we're doing accounting, everything squared away right now. Our next venture is to, with the Red Sox for the Never Quit Foundation, which is to help aid pediatric cancer.
Right.
We feel that's It doesn't necessarily have to tie to baseball, our fundraisers, but we tend to migrate in that direction just because we have folks that we have a common ground.
Sure. And that's John Lester's organization, is that right?
I'm sorry, that is John Lester, yes. And we all know that John
Yeah.
was diagnosed at the age of 22, and his thought of promoting the whole thing was he knew what he had to go through for the drug treatment, the chemo, and to see young kids go through that really tugs at his heart.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's great that you guys are doing that. A couple other things about your website. I know you guys have a section called Dugout Deals, and I know it's pretty prevalent on your Facebook community as well. You guys work in memorabilia as well. Is that right?
We do.
Okay.
We're not trying to be a memorabilia company necessarily,
Sure.
but we feel it just ties so easily into what we're doing. And so our goal is not to just create volume of things to sell, but it's try to find things that are kind of unique.
Right.
We've got some pieces that have been kind of interesting, like Ty Cobb. We have an envelope. He had a girlfriend that lived downstate New York and used to send her letters, and his name is actually signed on it. And we find that things like that sometimes are a little more unique and more sought after than just a signed baseball. So it could be tobacco pouches from years back, or the wrapper that the cards came in more than the card itself.
Right.
There's so many different areas that are of interest to people.
Now, when you're working in that, do you deal with estate sales? Is that how estate, or you're dealing with the estate of a person if they're deceased? Is that how that works?
We haven't done a lot of that, but we reach out in all different directions, either through word of mouth. We'll see things on the website that are up for sale that we think, gee, they're giving that away for whatever reason, and we're not trying to gouge anybody. We try very hard to price our product at a reasonable rate. I mean, so we're very big on making sure we can pass this stuff along and not break the bank to any one individual.
Sure, that's great. And sometimes those things are really hard to find too. I mean, having someone able to locate some of those, more rare and unique items is great, especially offering at a good price.
And more so the condition of the item.
Yeah.
We'll very often be asked for what is this thing worth, and our first feedback is, well, help us out a little bit with the condition. Can you send us a picture? Can you let us know if it's all ragged edges, or is it pristine, or is it still in the package? I mean, all that stuff matters.
How do you, when you're looking at a certain item and we're talking authenticity, how do you work, through that process of finding out how authentic it is? Is there some documentation that comes with a lot of these items?
Product will come with PSA, DNA. We're trying to establish our reputation, so we'll even put a Dugout Legends tag on it somewhere down the road once we build that credibility.
Great.
And we're definitely getting there.
Yeah, no, it seems like it. I've seen a lot of the items on the deals that you guys have done, and there's some really cool stuff in there. You have a relationship with Steiner Sports as well, is that right?
We do. We've done a couple of dugout talks with Brandon Steiner, and he promotes us. We promote him. He's a great guy. He's a motivational type guy. He's fun to listen to. He does he does podcasts of his own, and he's a very interesting guy to listen to. He's motivated.
Great. You mentioned Dugout Talks. That's a podcast that you guys do?
It is. We'll do a podcast, and we try to keep them to 10 to 15 minutes. Sometimes they're so interesting they run into a half an hour. Then we have some editing to do. But we've had some fun talks with Bob Kendrick from the Negro Leagues Museum. Very interesting and very big part of Americana and the history of baseball that's been kind of lost. Frank White, who played with the Kansas City Royals, we had some history there, and very, very interesting fellow to talk to. The Hall of Fame, we've had some stuff with them. It's just been a myriad of things, and we love the support we've got from all those groups.
That's great. That's really great. Good deal. So if you don't mind, I'd like to ask you a few questions, some that we ask some of our guests.
Okay.
So we'd like to find out, while working in the sports industry, or I guess throughout your career, what's the most outlandish or unique experience that you've come across?
To me, I don't know if it's any one experience. I think it's more the stories we've been able to share with the people, especially in our dugout talks. Okay. When we're talking to someone like a Frank White, who's from my generation, I keep pointing to us old guys because we seem to
sure.
You talk to people that came through how baseball changed from pre-World War to just after the Second World War. the Negro leagues and the history of that, how baseball has transitioned, Jackie Robinson, what that meant to baseball, on to in the early 70s as free agency kicked in and how it changed the whole league.
Yep. Sports, I mean, it changed everything. It changed.
So I think it's more the people that we've had a great experience to be able to share things with and talk to. I can't pinpoint just one.
Okay, that makes sense. Good deal. And as far as your favorite sports memory as a spectator, so personally, yeah. Absolutely. What's up there?
I say this quite often when I'm asked that question. Is one of my most vivid memories is the 1975 World Series with Boston and the Reds. I just think they won 7 games, and the drama that was in that, and you had two very, very high level. Both teams were full of all-stars, and my memory anyway, to me personally, is that 75 World Series.
That's great. Good deal. Well, hey, Eric, I really appreciate you joining us on the show. We're going to link up everything for your website and some of the fundraisers that you guys are working on and some of the ones you have in the past on the show notes so that people can get to them easily. But again, we really appreciate your time, and thanks for coming on the show.
Scott, thank you very much. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
All right, take care.
Yep, bye-bye.
This is Gregory Scott with Behind Sports, so we'll see you soon. Thank you.